Open University.
Greetings, all you bees with your proboscises in the buttercups of knowledge, to another Open University broadcast. It's late at night, the networks have closed down, and there's just us, just the seekers after truth. And today there is actually no course unit and there's no topic. I just thought it might be interesting to do a piece about nothing. And with nothing planned, I did a TED talk once, a TEDx talk in Tokyo at the Temple University, which is called a TED talk with nothing planned. And I'm sort of interested, it relates also to the art performances I used to do. I had a sort of 10-year block of being an artist in the noughties when I did 3 shows, not solo shows, 1 solo show and 2 shared shows with Japanese artists at Zach Forrest Gallery in Chelsea in New York. And the whole point of those was to improvise, to really focus on the moment when 0 becomes 1. And John Cage had a poem entitled "I Have Nothing to Say, and I Am Saying It." So I thought today I would just look at that idea of having nothing to say and saying it, because in a sense language speaks us, and language defines what we think, and I don't know. Context, yeah, all that stuff. But as Cage also said, there is no such thing as silence. When you try to approach to silence, and this is a metaphor, so double track. Try to approach to silence, or try to approach meaninglessness. You can never actually reach it. It's a receding horizon. It's fractal. There's always going to be smaller and smaller sounds, which perhaps Cage thought it would be a good idea to pay attention to. So perhaps there are smaller and smaller thoughts on this other track, thoughts which might be worth paying attention to, which nevertheless don't add up to any great theme. In my case, I think having nothing to say does add up to a great theme, because I really like the authors who don't use plot very much as well, the sort of modernist writers perhaps, who just ramble. I mean, they go back, the postmodernist writers often cite Lawrence Sterne, Tristram Shandy, as the ideal book that doesn't use plot. Plot, as someone said, have to research who said this on the internet, is the word for a piece of land in which you're buried. So we don't want plot. Actually, while you're alive, and this is the theme of my first novel as well, The Book of Jokes, we might have plots imposed on us. In that case, it was the plot of a joke which somebody has imposed on a family. Somebody, I mean, some deity, divinity, presumably some sadistic divinity, has said you're sentenced to live the rest of your life in a series of plot lines from jokes, and really bad and dirty jokes. And it's the old chestnut that it's the way you tell them. In that case, it's freedom is it's adverbial. It's not what you have to do, the verbs or the nouns, the things you have to work with. It's the adverbs. It's the interstitial manners, modes, and little tricks and twists and turns you do to get your own little bits of control back over this imposed plot. Because we do all have an imposed plot. The ultimate imposed plot is, of course, the plot of land in which we're buried. It's death itself. And we have our ruses to get before we're in that plot, to get wrest a little control back. Of course, thinking about that kind of idea, I have to talk about De Certeau, who was all about the distinction between strategy and tactics. Strategies are thought up by bureaucrats, politicians, people in control, people with power, or people who run companies that we work for, whatever. They impose a grid on life to make sure that basic productivity continues. But tactics are those little sneaky things which we do to, even just hitting snooze on the alarm clock. We still do get up and we still go to work, some of us. I'm working right now for the Open University. But we do it our way, and so our freedom is adverbial in that sense. And God, never have I been more articulate than today. No pauses, I'm not stumped for ideas because I'm talking about nothing, but this nothing turns out to be everything. It turns out to be a talk about everything. My TED talk was not quite this successful because I was a bit self-conscious. I was actually really pissed off that day because the organisers, the strategists had put things together very badly and hadn't told me where the venue was. I walked half the way across Tokyo trying to find the venue. Didn't know where my hotel was, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, I don't think I'll get any more TED invitations. Failure is also, I often define my career as having been a kind of ongoing failure, and I say that actually if you can extend failure long enough, it becomes a kind of success, or at least it's a survival. I think it's a kind of noble to fail if you can string it out long enough. What is human life except a strung out failure, which we have sort of parlayed into success? I like to cite something that Malcolm McLaren said, which is that it's vastly preferable to be a flamboyant failure than a benign success. And I believe that all the way. I think it's fantastic to... You know, I was just reading the other day, there was a big, the long read in The Guardian about Alan Yentop, who commissioned many of my favourite arts television programmes, including the cracked actor documentary about David Bowie. Arena, The Late Show, launched the career of Adam Curtis, all the most interesting things about the BBC. Flamboyant and not a failure, he had very much success within the organisation, but now times have changed, the atmosphere, the climate, the BBC got much more managerial, much more privatised and fragmented, and nobody has the balls that he had to impose a kind of Reithian vision of what he thinks is useful for people. Because this, by the way, these gestures I'm doing, sort of exaggeration of TV presenter gestures, which nobody would ever actually do. Toshiki Okada is the name I would associate with this idea. I steal everything from somewhere, and what makes it original and mine is that I get it wrong. So Toshiki Okada, the director of Chelfich, a theatre company, which here I stand, foot in hand, talking to my wall, not quite right at all, am I? Which uses this exaggeratedly naturalistic dialogue. And I think of perhaps the Ryan Trecarton, the video maker.
Doesn't make you any more or less than that.
You're right, Pasta. Nothing makes me anything but me. These army girls suck. They need to buy their own house soon.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear about the meeting?
Yeah, I was at the meeting. They voted me off of the family because of these stupid army girls.
It's not because of us. Okay. It's because of the twins.
Yeah, Mayfly.
Almost like that, you know, this very sort of natural but also science fiction, extended, futuristic manner of talking, combined with a very exaggerated repertorial, gestural, lexical set of kind of everyday gestures which are slowed down, made bigger. I often think of David Bowie's, there's some fantastic choreography. This is something people analyse his songs and his interviews even, but they don't really talk about his choreographic, gestural repertoire, which some of which, of course, started with Lindsay Kemp. But there are these fantastic things of awkwardness, anxiety, things people don't really express so much in pop videos. I think particularly of the fashion video where he's in a dance studio in Soho, New York, with all these motley crew of kind of people in leotards, and he's teaching them all to do these gestures, like rat gestures, which don't really work, and then he rubs his nose. Something I notice Zizek does as well. So Zizek's always doing this with his nose, as if he's taking too much cocaine, which he may well have done, although he denies it. He absolutely does flatly deny that he takes cocaine. But everybody else in the capitalist intellectual sphere, all the bankers, take cocaine all the time. London was just outed as the place where people take the most cocaine during weekdays, during the day, which means it's integral now to the London financial system and perhaps other trades too. I remember the only time I've taken cocaine was I was at a dinner party. A film producer was a very respectable indie film producer through in London, and after the dinner, these lines were just chopped out as if it was the most natural thing in the world, as if they were after-eight mints, and everyone else was snorting them up, and I said, oh, I've never done it, and I can't even drink coffee without my heart going bit-a-bit. So, but they said, I'll just have a half a line then. So I had this little half line. See, my brain's already fairly speedy, as you can probably tell. And I felt really awful. My heart was palpitating, and I had to go and lie down. I felt like such a wimp. And so I've never again taken cocaine. I'm just now edging into coffee drinking. That's my vice at the moment. I'm drinking Nescafe. I'll show you the Nescafe Gold Blend. Watched a video on YouTube of people doing blind taste tests on coffee, and actually this they ended up, people who claimed they only drank filter coffee and very expensive special coffee ended up liking this quite a lot when they didn't know what they were drinking. The way I make this is I put a little half glass of milk in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and then I add hot milk to it and make a cafe latte, a very milky one with no sugar. And but if I drink more than 1 cup of this a day, I get into Speedy Gonzales territory and very anxious and kind of restless. And so I haven't yet drunk my, and this is me before the coffee, I haven't drunk any coffee today yet. I think I'll turn this video off now and make a cup of coffee. Welcome to the Open University.